Hello and welcome to Career Talk. And today we'll be finding out a little bit more about Martin Teasdale's career. Now, welcome, Martin.
Hi, Lee. Hi, everybody. It's great to be here. Loving it.
Do you know what? This feels a little bit like Career Talk meets Get Out of Rap, which feels a little bit weird because I'm going to turn the tables and I'm going to be asking you questions rather than the other way around. We're going to find out a little bit more about you and I know that you obviously have Get Out of Rap, podcaster, and now very famous for that. But that's not all you do. You do have a day job, which is obviously you're Senior Director of Quality Experience at BPA Quality, which it's going to be fascinating to hear where you started and how you got to where you are today.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to have to not slip into asking you questions, but yeah, I'm very lucky. BPA Quality have always been very supportive of my kind of passion project that started in May 2019 now. And it's crazy to think I've done 118 episodes, and yeah, but as you know, and you're the same, this is an industry I'm very much in love with. I'm very evangelical about it. So the opportunity to come on and talk about my career and the things I've learned and want to share, yeah, is just great. So thanks very much for having me on.
No, do you know what? It's an absolute pleasure, and there's no doubt you're having an impact in your through your podcast. And I know there's a few people that I've suggested that you talk to. One of them being Tina, talking about her ADHD, and just really fascinating listening to some of the stories that you get to share. And I feel that we're in quite a privileged position because we can take these stories to the masses. Which it just feels like such a good thing to do.
Yeah, very much so. It's a good word, is privilege. I've learned so much just from every single guest that's come on and the journey that they've all had. And hopefully, if it's helped one person, if each episode helps one person, it's totally worth it. I love it.
Absolutely. So I want to take you back. I want to take
Okay.
you back to the very, very beginning. And I
Yeah.
remember interviewing you on camera for the CCMA several years ago. And I remember you saying, I started out on the phones. Did you start out on the phones? Where did your career start?
Well, I had hair when I started. I
You want to
left.
start wearing baseball caps. I'm sure that's what takes your hair off.
Yeah. I left university. I was at the University of Reading, and I did politics. Let's not go there.
Well, but that will have set you up. The kinds of things that you do in a politics degree will have set you up for what you're doing today.
Definitely. And but when I left, I was living in London, and very naively just thought I would get a job where I'd be able to use my degree, and that proved to be not the case. And I just was getting rejections and thought, well, I'm going to have to pay the rent. And I think this is probably a story that many can relate to, albeit I don't think this whole thing about diversity, actually, I don't think we need to say, oh, did you start on the phones, yes or no? And that determines some kind of worth. It doesn't, but we'll maybe touch on that later. But yeah, so in the end, through desperation more than anything, I responded to an advert in the paper, and it was for telesales. I didn't even really know what it was, and I turned up at a contact center in Wembley, and it was for Nice Day, so stationery supplies, business to business, with an old green screen headset. And it was the first time I'd ever seen a call center. We had 2 hours training, and that was predominantly about how to use the catalog and what was going to happen. And then you were just sent out onto the call floor, and away you go. And I genuinely, at lunchtime, I was thinking, I've made a big mistake. I need to leave. And then I stayed. The next day was slightly better. The day after, predominantly because of the people sat either side of me. And I think at that point, that whole, the buzz of a contact center, the constant busyness, and the everyone says it, and it's a bit of a cliche, but it's a cliche because it's true. The people next to me never stopped making me laugh, never stopped keeping me going. And I stayed there with those guys, I think, for about a year. It was tough. It was really tough. This was kind of the old trying to get past the gatekeeper to talk to the person that was responsible for buying stationery. So that was my baptism of fire. And I've not left the industry since then. That was 1995. So
you know what? That was around about the time when I'm very aware of the fact that I've never actually worked in a contact center, and that is true to a degree. But I did spend 2 weeks when I was at university where I thought, I've got to get myself a job. And I got myself a job selling windows. And I remember going to the upstairs of this retail outlet in the middle of Southampton, going upstairs, and literally at the top of the stairs on the landing, there were maybe 20 of us that were given a part of the Yellow Pages and told to phone it.
Yeah.
I don't remember getting any training. And I remember at the start of that 3-hour shift, I think I did it 3 times a week for 2 weeks. And I remember at the start of the shift, right, how many appointments are you going to get? And I used to, none. None. And they were like, no, you have to at least target 1. And I remember the last day I was there, they said, right, you're going to get 6. And I remember people putting the phone down on me, swearing at me and everything. Yeah. And I was like, do you know what? This is not for me. This is a tough job.
Oh, from a resilience point of view, I don't think, unless you've experienced it, it's different. People think you're maybe exaggerating, but you could come away, and if I'd made 1 sale, that was considered a great day. But that great day meant that wrapped around the 1 sale, you might have had 100 rejections. And we understand so much more in the industry now. We've evolved so much. It's great to see about understanding emotional intelligence and having empathy for people, frontline advisors, and what it does to our brains and how we work. But at the time, there was none of that. It was just something you had to try and deal with yourself internally. And yeah, it was, like I say, the people around me were what I used to bounce off to keep going. I'll never forget. I'm not sure if it was at Teasdale. I moved into financial services after that, and we did both customer service and sales. And I had a customer who called and was complaining, and it was one of those ones where people around you can hear the customers shouting from next to you. And I like to think one of my skills has always been I'm quite laid back, I'm quite level-headed about these kind of things. So I was just taking it. But when the call finished, and I ended politely, when the call finished, I kind of threw my headset down. And at that point, I was thinking, I just can't do this. And the guy next to me, just with amazing comedic timing, just went, best call you've ever had in your life, would you say? And it just broke my tension, just made me laugh. And I was ready to take another call, and that kind of, that help and interaction and just humor, a big part of why I've just loved being in the industry, loved it.
No, absolutely. So you say that you were at Teasdale for a year, a little over a year, and then you went into financial services again as an advisor, or
yes,
did you find a different role?
Yeah, to start with, for Lloyd's TSB or Black Horse, and that was collections. And for anyone that does any type of that activity, you get maybe perceived with a slight negativity. However, our whole remit and the vision was to help people that maybe were in difficulty and help them through. We had various tools. We just needed to make contact. But I always said, having done that again for about a year or so, if you can do well in collections, you can do can sell or do anything, because you're asking people in some sense to part with money for something, not even a service or product that they want. They've probably already had it. So I did that for a couple of years, and then they were very good at development, and they ran whole day events to see who the next team leaders would be. And I went along for a development session. I wasn't to be considered an official entrant, and I think because there was no pressure, I aced it. And, they said to me, "Oh, do you want to be a team leader?" And
How did you ace it? What did you do?
I didn't have any pressure. I was very relaxed. Every session that I went in, and it was basically a day of lots of different role plays. How would you've come into this situation? One of your teammates is struggling, or you're having to talk to someone about persistent lateness. There were lots of different scenarios, and I always just thought how well I've been treated by various different team leaders, and kind of just referred to that, plus delivered it in my own way, because I had no pressure. I just went from one exercise to the other, seeing lots of people around me getting very nervous, and I was like, I'm only here for development, so it doesn't matter. And yeah, I did. They offered me the position. Now, my first 6 months as a team leader, I was awful.
Why were you so awful? You can't just say that. I can't believe that you're awful.
Oh, I was terrible. Because I made the mistake of thinking everyone thought like me. Everyone was committed to the company, to being part of the team, to wanting to progress, to wanting to be the best that they could be. And that was the steepest learning curve, was understanding everyone in the team was different. Everyone was motivated in a different way, and I had kind of like one size fits all. And when that didn't get the right results, or I didn't feel, it wasn't like Dead Poets Society where I would deliver the morning brief and everyone jumps on their desks and starts cheering. I took that personally, and I'd be like, I just can't unlock these guys. I just don't know what I'm doing. Why can't they respond the right way? And again, through talking to other people and maybe being a bit vulnerable and saying, I'm not Charlie Big Potatoes. I don't know what I'm doing. Can someone help me? Then people, if you ask for help, people will help.
Yeah.
And, speaking to more experienced, both team leaders and some contact center managers, that just massively helped me, and went, well, of course that's not going to work. Some of your team don't want to be here. Some are motivated by different things. Maybe 2 or 3 of them want to progress, but you have to deal with them as individuals. Collectively, you talk to them about expectations and what you expect from them, but what they can expect from you. But when it comes to motivation, not everyone wants to play a game, or not everyone is motivated by the leaderboard or wanting to be the next team leader. Some of them just want to do a good job, be treated as professionals, supported, and then go home and enjoy their family life. And that was massively transformational, and kind of took the pressure off, because I just thought, I thought this was my career. I'm not going to get it, because if I can't get this team to perform, what chance have I got? And then I stayed in financial.
Sorry to jump in, and I'm really aware of the fact that some of the content that you create and share these days is about supporting team leaders, and I guess you draw on your experiences at that time.
I think everyone in the industry recognizes that team leaders are massively, massively important, and they're always so busy, and that's still true today. With the best will in the world, and everyone has good intentions, how do you take, we used to call it the magic weekend, which was Friday, you're an advisor and you get told you've got the job of team leader. Monday, you come in and you're suddenly expected, or you think you're expected, to be able to motivate and lead 15 other adults, and where else does that happen? It's not many other industries where, and you're predominantly, the demographic is quite young for our team leaders, and that comes with it. You have to be everything, school teacher, social worker, psychologist, friend, parent, confidant, mentor, lots and lots of different hats, and it's a real challenge. And I think inadvertently, it might not have always been the clear intention from the start, but the podcast, I think, has helped people understand imposter syndrome, because once I continued to progress, I didn't know what it was called then, but I certainly had moments in my career where I would think, I probably wouldn't say it to many people at all, but I would think, I'm going to get found out here. I don't belong. The more senior I got, the more prevalent it was. I remember thinking, I don't know what. When I got sent to Turkey, actually, I was working for an outsourcer, and I got selected or asked to go and help. The outsourcer was American owned, and they were very into mergers, acquisition, expanding their geographical footprint. And they wanted, from an operational and an outbound sales point of view, could someone from the UK go over to Turkey and spend some time with the team and help them understand the way we worked and really set them up for success. And when the director that I was working for at the time said, "Oh, they would like it to be you," straight away I was thinking, have they got the wrong person here? Because what am I going to do? And that for me was probably other than some of the early days, getting to a senior level, that's the thing that probably changed me the most, and it for the better, because every day I was so far out of my comfort zone, I couldn't even see it. My comfort zone was like 4,000 miles away the other way. I was in a totally different culture. And yeah, like I say, I remember every day having to battle with this thought around, am I good enough? Am I good enough? I don't think I am, and
some of that come with confidence and having the confidence in what you're doing, and knowing that actually what you've done, what's gone before has gone all right. It's gone okay. So therefore having the confidence to stretch yourself 4,000 miles ahead of your comfort zone.
Do you know what? It's a really good point. What it points to, I think, is if you think about how we are managed a lot of the time, we are told, right, here's your strengths, let's work on your weaknesses. So we very, very quickly, mentally, I think, zip straight past our successes and spend more time in our perceived, or the weaknesses, or the things that you haven't done so well, or maybe in my case it was not even things that hadn't gone well, but spending time thinking what could go wrong, rather than just relaxing. And actually, it was, I think, one of the things that we can all say in our industry, and it was shown, it's been shown over the last couple of years, we show up, right? It's kind of, no matter how I was feeling, I showed up. I showed up and I was vocal, and I think the biggest thing is having a growth mindset. So when things didn't work, I leaned on the people around me, and culturally. So I'll give you an example. We were out there, we went out, and I had, right, we're going to introduce these scripts. Scripts are going to work and they're going to transform sales. And I was told from the outset, it's not going to work here. It really won't. And I was like, no, well, I'm the expert. You're going to have to.
I was going to say, isn't that just red rag to a bull to say, actually, no, they will. They will work.
Yeah.
Well, along the way, they will work.
It turns out they were right. It didn't work. So,
oh, no.
But what we did do then is find a compromise that meant that we could reduce the variance of people's performance and how they conducted calls without taking away the thing that the Turkish team loved to do, which was just have a conversation and chat and get to know the customer without feeling restricted. So we built much looser parameters, and it absolutely, it worked a treat. I mean, like I say, that kind of just showing up every day and being open-minded. So going, okay, I do know what I'm doing, but I'm willing to learn. Made instantly, changed it. I was there 2.5 years, and it was the best thing I ever did, just in terms of being exposed to something so different.
And so you didn't go from team leader to traveling to Turkey. What happened in between?
So I went, I think probably a path that a lot of people recognize. I went from team leader to contact center manager, or the equivalent. I know people have different titles.
Yeah.
And that was, and then the teams I was working with got bigger. I got responsibility for other teams, customer service, complaints, quality. And that's that, you remit just kind of, I think if you're that way inclined, you want to grab other projects and say, oh, let me do this, let me do this. And yeah, that was predominantly financial services. And then I moved to a big outsourcer. They were called Affinion. They've changed their name a couple of times since then. Global company. I just learned so much, around true customer service, whilst operating on the finest of margins and constantly trying to eke out as much performance as you can. The last thing you could do was go and spend money. So how do you do it without that? But that sort of drives you to being really creative, kind of like, you're the A team stuck in a barn with the things around you to make a vehicle and a weapon. That's what you do. So again, I think I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And then,
you know what, we joke about being the A team stuck in a bar, and you've got to create something. But actually, I think the direction that we're going in as a society, actually, the next 12 months, there might be a little bit more of that going on, trying to work out how do you become more efficient with no money? How do you start doing your cost savings without losing anyone? It's I think that creativity is going to be important over the next few years.
creativity and networking through, the CCMA and things like this is finding out what other people are doing and what's working, and seeing how you can maybe implement it. That, I think, our creativity and our willingness to share with each other and take the kind of quick, decisive action, it will see us through. We've always found a way. I think we're an amazing industry, that we don't get the credit that we're due outside of the industry. And you've done loads on that already by talking to the government and things like that, for the percentage and the impact that we have on our economy and our local towns that we reside in and work in. We're massive. We do so much, and yet a lot of the news that you see is predominantly negative about call and contact centers, and that we know that isn't the case, right? So yeah, you're right. It's tough times ahead, but we're tougher.
Absolutely. And do you know what? So just reflecting back on what you've shared so far. So you've worked in finance sector, you've worked in B2B, in an in-house contact center, you've worked in an outsourcer. Where did you go after Turkey? So you said you were there for 2.5 years, and then you came back, and you can speak fluent Turkish.
Well, it's very much deteriorated since then. There's a couple of guys in the football team, or there's a Turkish restaurant nearby. I can get the barbers, no problem. I'm
you can
good
order
in there.
your haircut or your beard trimmed.
It's my beard. Yeah.
You can order a beer.
Do you know what? When I came back, straight away, the plan was that I was going to go to Brazil and do something similar.
Oh wow!
And I was planning for that, and then 2 weeks later, I was made redundant, and that was a huge shock. And again, that actually led to some of the things I do on LinkedIn around just highlighting people that are looking for new positions in role, because you associate losing your job and redundancy with you haven't done something well. Well, that was most of the time it's the alternative. It's just the way businesses operate, and especially as an outsourcer, it was kind of not expected, but at the time, it was devastating. However, I look back on, it's funny because doing this kind of career talk makes you kind of reflect backwards, right? I look back and think the times that things went wrong is when I've learned the most. So when I first went to Turkey and not knowing what I was doing, I can genuinely remember every morning waking up thinking, can I do this today? And then the fact that I did it and did well bears you in good stead. And then coming back, losing my job, and thinking, what the hell am I going to do? This is going to be really tough. And led to me working at BPA Quality amongst, lovely people. And I like to say that I'm kind of poacher turned gamekeeper with BPA Quality, because whilst I knew how important quality was from a agent feedback and development point of view, and certainly given my financial services background from a regulatory point of view, I had no idea what else was possible. And I was going to say dismissive. I wasn't dismissive of quality teams. I liked all the support teams I worked with, but I probably wouldn't have gone to them if I wanted to improve sales or do some other stuff or find out what our customers were saying. If someone had said, "I'll go and speak to the QA team," I'd be like, no. Whereas, the time that I've spent at BPA Quality, I realised what a massive underutilized resource it is for a lot of contact centres. Your QA team are the ones that hear every interaction with your customers. They know so much, but they ask so little. And it's been a really, and I've been there now the longest I've been anywhere, I think, nearly coming up to 8 years. So yeah, a long time there, a long time.
And your career has progressed there. What role were you doing when you first joined? Because I've seen you move into take responsibility for marketing. I've seen you progress through BPA. Where did you start at BPA?
I think the beauty of having a slightly vague title means that you can kind of pick up lots and lots of different responsibilities, and I love that. But I predominantly at the start was around sales and implementation, so winning new clients, and then managing that transition into business as usual. And yeah, like you say, like a lot of people, I think over the last few years, everyone mucks in together, so it's very difficult to, every client's different, their requirements are different, and how we facilitate it and achieve their targets and what they hope to achieve is different. So you kind of lend yourself to doing lots and lots of different things. People always ask me, what does your title mean? And I said, I think I've been conned that it just means that I can be asked to do everything.
That's so true. Because I must admit, senior director quality experience, that means that you're senior, you can be a spokesperson. Generally, you're talking about quality. And of course, it's all about CX and EX.
Exactly.
So yeah, it is a catch-all. And of course, beyond that, since 2019, as you say, you've been get out of rap. And you get the opportunity to talk to all sorts of folk about all sorts of things. And I think I mentioned on a LinkedIn post that you moonlight at it because you do it in the evenings, you do it at weekends.
Yeah, and like I say, I'm very lucky that BPA has always been supportive, but it genuinely started. I had some time on my hands. I love podcasts, and I thought I'm lucky. I get to speak to so many interesting people in our industry, and we don't often hear those stories, or we don't. You look at people and go, I bet they've just sailed serenely into that position. Guess what? They absolutely haven't. They have the same fears and concerns of you. They've had the same squiggly careers. And I just thought,
careers, I like that.
I just thought, let's go for it. I like the name. Not many people did when I started, but I'm quite stubborn. So I just thought, right, that'll do. And I just, again, it's that I've constantly tried to get better bit by bit by bit. And there's still so much more I want to do. But I've genuinely loved every minute, every episode, and it's massively taught me, even though I haven't evidenced it today, it's massively taught me how much more you learn by listening. Just by letting people talk and not thinking about, like, properly listening. Because I think when you have to edit as well, you have to listen to the content and the words and the meaning far more than just thinking, well, where's my gap coming for me to talk? So this concept of active listening through doing the podcast, like I say, haven't evidenced it today, but it's been a benefit.
And that's one of the joys about doing something live, is that it's a real conversation. And coming into this, I knew that, okay, yes, you can prep to a point, but there was no point, because you and I can talk for hours about what goodness knows, and it's whether people want to listen to everything we talk about. Now, I am going to ask you some specific questions. What has been your greatest achievement to date?
Work-wise?
Yeah, work-wise.
I would say the podcast. Just probably the longevity and the impact, the amount of people that have said they've listened to a guest and it's galvanized them to go for a job that they didn't think they could get, and they've got it. That just gives me goosebumps. So I would say, the podcast.
What's the best advice that you've ever received?
The only way out is through. So, and that comes from someone as well, which is Helen. That if you're going through a tough time, just keep going. The only way out is through. Just got to show up, keep going, show up, keep going.
Absolutely. Do you know what, that whole if you're facing a challenge, rather than going through, but not necessarily waiting. Sometimes you have to wait. It's right to wait, but facing stuff head on is sometimes the quickest way to be able to sleep again.
Exactly. Exactly.
I love that. And what do you wish that you'd learnt sooner?
The theory around imposter syndrome. So the fact that it had a name and I can understand it, and it was quite prevalent, I think would have just eased some of that early pressure and reduced the amount of overthinking, and just thought, just get on with it. You're here for a reason. Like you say, you've got a track record behind you. I met someone before and after Turkey, and he said, there's something different about you. And we spent the day together, and he said, I know what it is now. When I first met you, you used to look down. Now you look up. And it was just that kind of confidence. And a lot of the time that confidence is born out of negative things, right? Challenges, setbacks, and knowing that you can just keep going. But I wish I'd understood more about imposter syndrome earlier.
And there'll be so many people that are listening that will resonate on the imposter syndrome. And I know that obviously you talk about it in the podcast. And I mean, I recognize it 2 years ago, massively recognized it. But I think it is a case of, if you've got that purpose and you've got support around you, then it is possible to start to work through it.
Exactly. It's now something that is still there, but I can wear it better. You just carry it and use it as a fuel more than anything. It's like, you've got this, keep going, it's fine. So, and that kind of, haven't I, just drives me forward now, rather than stops me a bit. It used to stop me and I'd be overthinking. Now it's just part of the fuel,
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now I've got some rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Although I do tend to pause because I like listening to the answer. What's your favorite animal?
Oh, Hugo, Black Labrador. He's not
it
here
has
right
to
now.
be Hugo. It has to be Hugo. And you know what? I've got Teddy here. How he has not barked while we've been online, I do not know. But it has to be Hugo. Love seeing the photos of him on LinkedIn and Instagram. Okay, sunshine or snow?
Snow.
Oh, really? Why?
When my father was in the RAF, the Air Force, and we were lucky enough to be able to drive to play. We lived in Germany, and we could just drive somewhere in his old beat up Ford Escort. We used to get RAF issue skis and stuff and just go skiing. So I'd say the snow.
Oh, that's quite cool. That's really quite cool. I thought it'd be sunshine because you've your hat.
Oh, I love both.
Yeah. You love life. So, so here's a question for you. Would you prefer to travel to the past or go to the future?
I love history, but it'll be the future.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Definitely. I'd just be really curious as to. I think, despite the news and everything like that, I think we'll be okay. We are progressing. It'll be fascinating to see.
Do you know what? I'm fascinated by the future, and I use the past to think about what the future might look like. And yeah, I think we've got a tough couple of years ahead. But I'm quite excited about what the mid to long term future might hold for our industry. So here's another question for you: learn by watching or learn by doing? I know what the answer is going to be.
Doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because that's what you've done your entire career. You've done it. You're not scared to just do it, which is what you've done with the podcast. You've just gone, do you know what? I'm going to do it. Do you know what, Martin? You are an absolute inspiration. And I know you are because lots of people tell me, and I can see it on LinkedIn. And it's lovely listening to your podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today.
You.
It's been fascinating listening to where you started, what's inspired you along the way, what you've learned along the way. I really, really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today.
No, thanks very much for having me on. I've loved it, and keep up the great work.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day, Martin.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.